Hello everyone, my name is Ishan and welcome to lecture number 17. Now, this lecture is presented by Ichni San, which is Australia's first multilingual dialogue center. The reason why I say multilingual is because many dialogue centers or institutions focus on international topics and issues. They do focus on multicultural affairs. However, it's all done in English. However, at Ichni San, our dialogues and our communication, our publications, and our work is not going to be based in English alone. In fact, we'll make the usage of different languages around the world so that we can actually relate to and reach out to different populations. And you will see sessions in different languages very soon. But for now, welcome to lecture number 17. Today's lecture is pretty straightforward. We are going to focus on the stimulus packages announced in Australia and in India. I'll explain quickly what a stimulus package is, and then we'll look at the numbers. As usual, this is based on facts and extensive research. However, people will have an opinion for sure whether the stimulus packages were actually utilized correctly as portrayed by the official agencies or not. And for that purposes, I would like to hear from people, and that is possible if you write your comment in the YouTube comment box. So please make sure that you like and subscribe. Like the video, so that shows your appreciation to the work that we are doing. By subscribing to the channel, you will get notifications each time we upload a video, and by commenting in the YouTube comment box, you're actually communicating with the broader community who is engaged in this lecture series. So without any delay, now let us look at the stimulus packages announced by both Australia and India. So let us understand what's an economic stimulus package. First of all, a stimulus package is an attempt by the government of that particular country to boost the economic growth. So that is to increase the GDP and to increase the economic activity and get the country or the economy out of recession or an economic slowdown that could be because of various reasons. In this situation, it's because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, the two main ways of stimulating the economy are expansionary monetary policy and expansionary fiscal policy. To keep it simple, a monetary policy is that by banks and a fiscal policy is that by governments. And in our regular communication, when we do mention economic stimulus packages, especially during the COVID-19 situation, we are referring to the fiscal policies, so focusing on the ones by the governments. So let us look at those particular ones. Around the world in general, I'll tell you what's happening. And we're looking at more industrialized and developed and richer countries in the world. On an average, the packages that they have announced to stimulate their economies are between 5 to 10% that of their GDP. What is happening in the other part of the world? So when it comes to developing countries, they have announced smaller packages, which are between 2 to 5% of their total GDP. Now, we do know India falls in a developing countries category and Australia falls in the developed countries category. So based on the averages that we are seeing around the world, people would assume that Australia has announced a stimulus package that is between 5 to 10% of their GDP, which is correct. But how about India? India falls in the developing countries category. Some cities are developed, but the country as a whole is still developing, and there is a long way to go with regards to technological enhancements, although there is new technology arriving in the country. So how about India? Has India also announced a smaller package like other developing countries of the world that is between 2 to 5% of the total GDP? Is it? Any guesses? Nope. India has announced a massive package that is almost 10% that of GDP. In fact, it's probably more than some richer and developed countries around the world as well. It has announced a package that is, you know how much zeros in the package that India has announced? 1 0, 2 zeros, 3, 4, how many? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 zeros, literally. So that's the package India has announced, the stimulus package. So that is rupees 20 lakh crore, or if you convert that in dollar value instead of rupees, then it comes with the conversion rate, it comes to 265 billion US dollars. So it's that huge of a government stimulus package to help India out of a recession, to help India out from this COVID-19 situation. This is purely based on the contribution towards the economy. This is close to 10% of Indian GDP. So going back, it's actually at par or even more than what some developed countries have announced. So this is absolutely commendable, no doubt about it. However, now here comes the problem, or here comes the discussion. There's no doubt the stimulus package is huge. 20 lakh crore or 265 billion US dollars, so it is pretty massive. However, only close to 1% of the GDP, so not 10%, but 1%, is direct assistance in the way of any crisis-based stimulus package. So usually when we talk about government-based fiscal stimulus packages, we are clearly looking at governments paying people, okay, direct cash or money in their accounts directly, or tax concessions, or giving away loans, allowing that economic activity to really get going in the country. So you could help people by helping them maintain their jobs. You can actually pay the employers to pay their employees as well. So that's direct assistance. That is what globally, okay, we say is a stimulus package. India has called this a stimulus package, okay, but only 1% of this really, okay. Maybe say it's close to 10% of the GDP. It's actually just 1% of the GDP's direct stimulus package. The rest is a package. It is good. It's good for the economy, but it's not a crisis-based financial or fiscal stimulus package. It is a government spending category. So it's an expansionary government's policy. It's an expansionary fiscal policy for the long run, which many countries do. So a lot of countries have annual spending for expansionary fiscal policies, but that is not the same as a stimulus package. So India has here combined their regular government spending and expansionary fiscal policy with a stimulus package, and they have come up with this number, which is a fact. So there's no argument in this part. How the money is used is a point for discussion. Now, the good part again. How is India helping out their people through the stimulus package? It is through free ration, through ration or ration. Doesn't matter how you pronounce it, right? Keep an open mind. There are different pronunciations around the world. That's the point of Ichni-san, that we broaden our horizon, okay, and not have a bias or prejudice of being judgmental towards people. So who cares if I say ration or I say ration? It's both correct as far as you get what I'm saying. So free ration or free ration through ration shops, and money transfer through direct benefit transfer, that is the DBT, using the Janathan account model. So that's how the government has been helping people through the stimulus package. They're also providing and improving healthcare that is available to citizens, which I did cover in one of my previous lectures. They're also supporting small and formal and informal businesses to stay active so they don't close down. So this is what has been officially announced. This is the only reliable part that we have based on the stimulus package. Like I said, the remaining is an expansionary policy. It's a budget dedicated to help the economy, which any country does, but it's not a stimulus package. What's happening in Australia? In Australia, the government is providing $259 billion US dollars worth of fiscal policy stimulus package. So compare that with India. Australia is giving $259 billion. India is giving $265 billion. Brilliant, well done. Australia has, of course, less number of people, so the per capita that's going to reach out to people is going to be more, obviously. But then we compare the GDPs of the countries, there's a difference in that as well. So what Australia is doing with regards to their stimulus package, that is equivalent to around 13.3% of the annual GDP. So much higher than what the average developed country is doing. So this is direct fiscal measures, which are equivalent to around 6.9% of the GDP. So see, once again, many countries like to inflate their numbers. So the numbers that we saw before, between 5 to 10% or between 2 to 4%, that is to do with overall assistance. But within the overall assistance, some countries are adding on their expansionary policy, which is a regular government spending, with the stimulus package. Now, in Australia, that's not happening. There is a stimulus package, but within the stimulus package, we're looking at very, upfront, straight away payment to people. No other assistance. If you're looking at that, it's still 6.9% that of the GDP. So what are the standout schemes in Australia in the stimulus package? One is the JobKeeper payment. What I've not mentioned here, and there was one more, that was the job seeker payment as well, a job seeker scheme. Actually, it wasn't a payment, where people who are losing their jobs could have a database, a central database with all their skills, and then the government would actually allocate them and tell them, well, this is where you can now start working, where there is a little opening in the industry. So a lot of people who are losing their jobs in one sector were started working in another sector based on that particular program. But again, see, that is not stimulus package, so I'm not counting that in the stimulus package scheme. So JobKeeper payment was a part of the stimulus package. The JobKeeper payment helps businesses significantly impacted by the coronavirus cover, and it covers the cost of their employees' wages. So keep it simple. If your business is struggling, you cannot keep people employed, you cannot pay their wages because of the recession in the economy. The government is paying the business to pay the employees. So everyone, the business can keep operating, they don't have to shut down, and the employees keep getting paid as well. So that way you're trying to reduce the unemployment as much as possible. Employers will notify employees if they're claiming the fortnightly payment of 1,500. So fortnightly, that is every alternate week, employees retained by the businesses were getting paid or are getting paid $1,500 a fortnight. So that comes to around $3,000 a month, thanks to the government paying the businesses to keep these jobs in place. The first payments were made in the week commencing on 4th of May 2020. Now, there was an issue over here. A lot of universities applied for the JobKeeper payment, but somehow the government rejected. The tax department, ATO, rejected the universities and said, well, you don't fall in the category of a JobKeeper payment. That's another political issue, why the government is not really helping out the education sector, but helping every other sector. So I'll make a video for that after I'm done with the COVID-19 series. However, there is something to bear in mind. The government is helping a lot of businesses, but they're not helping the education sector. So the education sector has failed to apply for the JobKeeper payment, and they're losing a lot of jobs in that particular area. Also, there is income support for individuals. Since 27th April 2020, the government has temporarily expanded the eligibility for income support payments and established a new time-limited coronavirus supplement to be paid at the rate of $550 fortnight. So here we are talking about people who are unemployed, or people who are living in poverty, or really struggling to struggling with their daily support, struggling with getting food, to really struggling to survive in this situation. Some of them are homeless as well. So the government actually pays these people on a fortnightly basis. There are government offices where people line up and they get paid. So this was an additional $550 a fortnight support that was announced by the government to help people who are at a financial risk. There was also temporary early release of superannuation, which is similar to a pension scheme. Pension is ongoing. Superannuation is kept aside when you're working. The different types of superannuations. One is a voluntary contribution. One is a forced contribution. Some where your employer actually contributes on your behalf. In most cases, you have to contribute to yourself. Now, what's happened in this particular situation? This is a very good scheme. However, not many people have been eligible based on their temporary visa status. It does say that there are temporary visa holders who are eligible to access up to 10,000 of their superannuation, but this depended if they had a superannuation with certain companies only, and if they had reached a particular level of superannuation to get money out of it. But there was this assistance made to the citizens and permanent residents of the country. They could access up to $10,000 of the superannuation in one financial year and another $10,000 in the other year. So this is not directly coming from the government, but it's a superannuation that is held by superannuation companies, which was released early so people could actually spend. That brings me to the point of spending. All these stimulus packages where you're paying people money works if people spend. So if people are not spending, it's not going to work. If people start saving it, it's going to be a failure. So the potential problems of overall fiscal expansionary policies around the world is higher government borrowing. So governments, in order to pay people, would borrow more from, of course, the World Bank, from IMF as well, from other countries too. So the higher borrowing actually puts the country in a debt in a long-term situation. So the debt to GDP ratio might go up for many countries, helping out their citizens at the moment. So it's good at the moment, but in the long term, there could be certain issues the governments might be facing. And like I said before, it's only effective, all this works if people spend. If people are not going to spend the money you're paying them to spend, it's not going to work. The whole idea is Government pays you. What you get paid, you spend out. What you spend is somebody else's income. Because it is somebody else's income, especially for a business, they can keep people employed. Those people get paid, they spend further. That's how the economy keeps going. So if people are getting paid and they're not spending, the whole point of a stimulus package is not being met. So this is a potential problem that any country might face with regards to the fiscal expansionary policies. What is your thought about it? Could some countries do more? Are you aware of certain schemes in particular countries or your country of origin which you felt was really, really commendable, that should be brought to light, that should be discussed, or that has helped people? Or are you aware of certain schemes that are pretty useless, just on paper, but not really helping people out? Whatever is your opinion or the information that you have, of course, I hope it is reliable. Make sure you mention that in the comment box of YouTube, so we can all engage in a more advanced and we can communication in a dialogue, and we can take this topic forward. So that was it for now with regards to stimulus packages. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.